Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.
Tonight on News Hour, 1.5 million girls enrolled in schools in northern Nigeria in 10 years. Yola residents facing water shortage pay 1,000 naira per 12 gallons as cost of living increases. President Tinubu suspends 5% telecommunications tax, defers Finance Act commencement date. On the foreign scene, 3 children among 17 killed in gas leak horror outside Johannesburg. Hello and welcome to the News Hour on Trust TV. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thank you for joining. And now the details. A total of 1.5 million girls have been enrolled in schools in 6 northern states within the last 10 years under the Girls Education Project Phase 3, GEP 3. This is contained in the report of an evaluation of project presented on Thursday in Kaduna State. The GEP 3, which began in 2012 and ended in 2022, targeted 1 million girls and surpassed it with over 500,000 girls by household. It is aimed at improving access, enrollment, retention, and learning outcomes for girls in basic education in northern Nigerian states of Bauchi, Katsina, Niger, Sokoto, Zamfara, and Kano State. The findings reveal that 23,655 girls benefited from the cash transfer program, and more than 67,000 teachers and integrated Quranic schools facilitators were trained, which improved teaching competency from 12% to 52%. The report also showed that 2.6 million children continued education through alternate learning during the COVID-19, where back-to-school campaigns conducted in 18,567 schools resulted in 94% of children returning to school. Residents of Yola, the Adamawa state capital, have expressed concern over the acute water scarcity in the city. As a result, most of them now rely on water vendors as taps have stopped running for years with little or no action by the authorities to ameliorate their hardship. Salis Lawan has more.
The areas worst hit by the scarcity include Churoma Street, Bamoy, and Tongo Ward of Yola South local government area. Most of the boreholes drilled in the area have broken down due to years of neglect and poor maintenance. The communities now rely on supply from water trucks majorly contributed by members.
It is more than 20 years we are facing this challenge. Since from our parents up to right now, we are the elders of the area, or we are the youth of the areas. We are facing a lot of problem of water. We are buying one truck of water. That is a puspus. We are buying the 1,900. Sometimes we are buying the 600. That is the lower level that we are buying water inside the area right now. So we are facing a lot of problem about the water.
We have a very difficult to get water in this world. So please, we are appealing to the government to get this water to us, because we are neighboring to the water board here. So please, let government see us.
The recent fuel subsidy removal has left the vendors with no option than to increase their prices from 70 to 80 or 90 naira per 20 liters of water, depending on the location. The vendors are making bricks businesses due to the growing demand of their services.
Anan shagari na diba zan kai Sokoto Street bisa ga inda za ka yi ne yanzu kaman daga nan zuwa inda za mu kai Sokoto Street nan 1500 ne.
I used to deliver it to my customers. In fact, for me, this is one of the best business I can do. I make about 7,000 to 8,000 a day as a result of the rise in patronage.
Muna liba muna kaiwa. Mun kai mafi yawanci muna kaiwa bashi ne.
The business is lucrative. But sometimes we do supply water for a whole month without being paid by some of our customers. But one good thing is that I enjoy doing the business.
This job pays my bills and that of my family, which makes me the breadwinner. Children's school fees, hospital bills, and house rent are all taken care by my job.
They urge the state government to rehabilitate the Yola water treatment plant and upgrade the reticulation system to enhance water supply in the area as well as access to potable water in Yola and its environs as part of mitigation plan. Silas Lawan, Trust TV News, Yola.
Meanwhile, following the nationwide upward review in the pump price of petrol to an average of 537 naira per litre by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, commercial drivers and passengers in Nigeria's capital city, Abuja, have been lamenting the increase in the cost of transportation in the FCT. This has made intra-city shuttle almost a luxury, as many can barely afford to move around except for very important reasons. Abdurrahman Umar reports.
Eliasu Bisala is a commuter who told Trust TV that before the increase in fuel price, 1,000 naira could have been enough for him to move around the FCT.
Before 500 they taking me today, but now at least I spend like 800 before we reach there, as this fuel issue come.
According to Yahuza Salihu, before now 300 naira would have taken him to and from his workplace, but with the removal of subsidy, he spends way more than that now.
From Jabir to my working place, before it was 300, but now almost 700 now. Go and come. Now I'm going to Zuba. Before it was 250, but now it's 700.
Passengers are not the only ones complaining about the increase in the cost of transportation within and around the FCT. Drivers too have their own stories to tell. Mustafa Abdullahi is a driver within the FCT. He says he feels poor residents of Abuja, especially federal civil servants, who are struggling to meet the new fares. He adds that even with the increase in fuel price, they had reduced the cost of transportation to enable the workers cope.
We driver in Jabi, we look that our federal government, our people are suffering, working under federal government. They wouldn't increase their salary. Now they always keep up promise to them that they are going to increase their salary, and they didn't increase to them. That's why that we drivers, we gather ourselves and we look into it. We have to drop the price for them to 400 naira now.
We are not even happy what is happening now, because everything is high. Even though we want to buy even the oil now, when we used to buy 2,000 naira, they sell it almost 11,000, 12,000. How can we cope up? Again, they now put a fuel like this thing. How can we make it? How can we get our this thing? Even most of all that we are balancing now, many motors are already parked because of the fuel this thing. What you are buying 195 before, we buy it times 3 of what you are getting now. So what is the benefit?
Joy Anyama says 500 naira was enough to take her and her goods home, but now she even begs to pay 800 naira, but the drivers won't budge.
As they take me to DD, they are telling me that it's 1,000 naira, while before I'm paying 500, 400. So I beg them to collect it 800. They refuse that they will not collect 800.
On the whole, both drivers and passengers in Abuja agree that they are both suffering the high cost of living, especially in terms of transportation, as around in and around the FCT is no longer business as usual.
Now, in a similar vein, 5 weeks after the announcement by President Tinubu that subsidy on petrol has been removed, Nigerians have been trying to adjust their lifestyles to fit the current realities of the new regime of no subsidies. Trust TV correspondent Chamung Dabeng reports that Nigerians have had to make significant cuts in their daily spendings in order to meet up with the exponential price hikes brought about by the immediate hike in the cost of transportation.
The subsidy removal policy has been often described as a funds guzzler and a platform for corrupt practices, making its subsequent removal imperative to aid the growth of the Nigerian economy. However, the changes brought on by the removal of the subsidy policy has multiplied the hardships that Nigerians have been facing over time. The country in the last year has seen several hikes in the consumer price index, which as of May 2023 sits at 22.41%, while food inflation is 24.82%. As the price of goods and services continue to increase, Nigerians are forced to make difficult adjustments to their lifestyle.
We are suffering. Nigeria is suffering. Like me now, I don't retire. I'm finding it very, very difficult to feed. Yes, I make an adjustment because anything when I'm buying now, I will share it. I will buy 1/5 of it, and with the higher price.
Yeah, my movement reduced. Now I'm doing from my house to my office to my children's school. Three movements from my house to my office to my children's school, which is crazy. You can't visit anyone. Even now I'm in the market, I came to buy. Prices of things are crazy.
Imagine somebody who is earning 35,000 naira, is paying a transport of 1,000 naira, let's say every week. I was living in where I was paying, I think 70,000 naira. I've now moved to where I'm now paying 50,000 naira for a rent. So
several experts have predicted that the trend will continue upwards, with the Bank of America predicting that Nigeria's inflation rate may reach 30% in 2023. The World Bank also predicts that 7.1 million Nigerians may be pushed below the poverty line. While economist Aliyu Audu lauds Nigerians for being able to handle the subsidy removal, many, however, wonder what can be done to ease the struggles of the vast population.
Let's look at what the government has promised and is going to do. We know that the government is about less than 2 months old. So I'm not sure if they can do any magic immediately. Now, they have promised that they are going to increase the minimum wage in line with the subsidy removal. They have promised they are going to bring in palliatives in terms of buses, electric buses, mass transit buses, to help workers move from one point to another at a subsidized rate.
Nigerians and some experts are calling on the federal government to address the situation to avoid further consequences on the country. Chamun Dabeng, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Bola Tinubu has approved the suspension of 5% excise tax on telecommunications services in Nigeria. He has also approved the suspension of excise duties escalation on locally manufactured products in the country. Special Advisor to the President on Special Duties, Communications and Strategy, Dele Alake, disclosed this during a press conference with State House correspondents on Thursday.
Alake told journalists that these were part of 4 executive orders signed by the president. He said the decision was taken to reduce the sufferings of Nigerians, especially the area of multiple taxation, as well as creating a more friendly environment for both local and foreign businessmen.
Now, upon taking over the reins of government, the president promised to run a government that will not make life difficult for Nigerians or asphyxiate or stifle corporate entities in spite of the challenges the federal government. In spite of these challenges, this federal government is irrevocably committed to this pledge.
He stated that the president signed the Finance Act Effective Date Variation Order 2023, which now differs the commencement date of the changes contained in the Act from May 23rd, 2023 to September 1st, 2023. Tinubu also ordered the suspension of the newly introduced green tax by the way of excise tax on single-use plastics, including plastic containers and bottles, as well as suspension of import tax adjustment levy on certain vehicles.
Executive Order 1, the Finance Act Effective Date Variation Order 2023 has now deferred the commencement date of the changes contained in the Act from May 28, 2023 to September 1, 2023. This is to ensure adherence to the 90 days minimum advance notice for tax changes as contained in the 2017 National Tax Policy.
Aleke equally explained that the president issued these orders to ameliorate the negative impact of the tax adjustment on business and chokehold on households across affected sectors. Other presidential advisors at the briefing also stated the president assured Nigerians that there will be no further tax raise without robust and wide consultations undertaken within the context of a coherent fiscal policy framework.
The focus of this administration is to harmonize our taxes, the way we collect it. Mr. President actually wants to simplify and make it friendly to business, the way we operate taxes in Nigeria. And as we know that when you talk about the revenue management, it's not only in tax collection. The starting point is our economic policy.
So the president and this administration is very sensitive to the plight of the Nigerians, and he's already promised, we will ensure that the suffering is reduced and also ensure that businesses operate in a more friendly environment.
Any cost that has been passed over to the consumers will also be suspended, and this will be enforced through the consumer protection agencies of the government. We do know that ultimately, as all my colleagues have said, the ultimate gain is to alleviate the plight of Nigerians, and we will ensure that this is done through the appropriate agencies of government.
In a bid to address concerns raised by manufacturers and other stakeholders regarding recent tax changes by the Muhammadu Buhari's administration, the president has now signed 4 executive orders, one of which is the suspension of the 5% excess tax on telecommunication services, as well as the excise duties escalation on local manufactured products.
The chairman of the National Population Census, Nasiru Isa Kwara, has said that President Bola Tinubu will announce new dates for Nigeria's conduct of the National Population and Housing Census. The NPC boss told State House correspondents on Thursday after his meeting with the president that further delay in the conduct of the census will incur additional expenses. The census, earlier scheduled for May 3rd to 7th, 2023, was postponed to a date to be determined by President Tinubu administration. After meeting with the president on Thursday, Kwara said that he briefed him on the commission's preparedness for the census. He, however, explained that the preparations for the exercise, which has already gobbed 100 billion naira, is a huge investment for the country, adding that subsequent exercises will be less expensive. President Bola Tinubu's spokesperson, Dele Alake, has said that the president's ministerial list is not ready. The special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy made this known during a briefing with journalists at the State House in Abuja. Alake urged Nigerians to disregard rumors surrounding the awaited ministerial list.
The simple truth is that this is an executive presidency. It's not, we are not running a parliamentary system. So the president, the buck stops on his table, and he decides when it's fit and proper for him to make his cabinet list known. We are not unaware of all the speculations and innuendos and rumors, all kinds of things in the media. But I, as a media man, I chuckle to myself that people want to sell. So they just fabricate. I can tell you all of those things you've been reading in the media are mere fabrications. There is no iota of truth in all of those things. When the president is good and ready, you will be the first to know about his intentions.
Tinubu, having been sworn in as president on May 29, 2023, is expected to submit this ministerial list to the Senate before 29th of July. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission has filed a 6-count charge against a suspended resident electoral commissioner in Adamawa State, Hudu Yunusa Ari. The charges were filed at the High Court in Yola, the state capital, according to Annex spokesman Festus Okoye. In a statement on Thursday, Okoye said that the electoral body took the action after reviewing the case file from the police, which established a prima facie case against Yunusa Ari. Yunusa Ari had courted controversy after the supplementary election in Adamawa on April 15, 2023 when he announced Aishat Ahiru of the All Progressives Congress as the winner of the dramatic poll while the collation of results was ongoing. A Kwara State High Court, presided over by Justice Tawheed Umar, has denied one Dr. Joseph Ayodele bail. Ayodele was accused of sedating and raping a nurse in his hospital. He was arraigned on a 3-count charge of conspiracy to obtain money by false pretense, obtaining money by false pretense, and rape. The offences are punishable under the Advance Fee Fraud Act and Violence Against Persons Law of Kwara State. He pleaded not guilty to all the 3 charges when read to him in court. While ruling on the bail application by the Defence Counsel on health grounds, Justice Umar said that there is no sufficient evidence to prove that the accused is unfit to stand trial. He refused to grant the accused bail and adjourned the case to 26th of July for accelerated hearing.
My client, doctor, was arraigned, and then the court took the place. And then I moved a bail application for him. It was named that he should either to be granted bail or be taken to asylum for medical and proper medication. But the court refused. So we are now going back to prison now to obtain letter so that to show how seriousness the madness is. Because every day it's deteriorating. So we are still on it. Right. Because as I'm talking to you now the man is not proper and fit to stand trial because of mental ability.
Dr. Ayodele Joseph was arraigned today for the alleged offenses of fraud, rape. There are 3 counts that he was arraigned for, and he pleaded not guilty. Thereafter, his counsel brought an application for bail. The court, went after the application for bail. The court adjourned for ruling by 11 o'clock, which we came back. To the glory of God, the bail application was refused. So we have taken date now for hearing. He said instead of him granting him bail, he preferred to take accelerated hearing. The bail was it's on 2 phases. Is that granting him bail, or should be taken to asylum, Ward 7 in UITH, which the court refused. He said instead, let's go on accelerated hearing. Hence, we took date for 26th of July for hearing proper.
A federal high court in Abuja has granted bail in the sum of 50 million naira to suspended Deputy Commissioner of Police Abba Kyari, who is charged with failure to declare assets alongside his siblings. The National Drug Law Enforcement Agency had filed a 24-count charges against DCP Kyari, his brothers Muhammad Baba and Ali, before the court over his failure to declare properties allegedly linked to him in their asset form. Now, the judge had earlier granted bail to the Kyari brothers, who were accused of receiving funds from an international scam syndicate linked to Ramoni Abbas, also known as Hush Puppy. In his ruling on Thursday, Justice James Omotosho granted Kyari bail in the sum of 50 million naira and 2 sureties in like sum. Justice Omotosho added that the sureties must have property worth 25 million naira within the court's jurisdiction. He ordered Kyari and the sureties to deposit their international passport, their statement of accounts, the title deed of the sureties, property, and recent passport photographs with the registrar of the court. Kano State Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission has summoned ex-Governor Abdullahi for questioning over the dollar video. In 2017, Daily Nigerian, an online publication, had released some videos of Ganduje allegedly collecting kickbacks from contractors. In the videos, he could be seen collecting the dollars before rolling them into his white dress, Babariga. Now, the ex-governor had denied the allegation, saying that the videos were doctored. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Coming up shortly, we take a look at what it takes to stop open defecation. Details and more after the break. Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Let's take a look at the top stories again. 1.5 million girls enrolled in schools in northern Nigeria in 10 years. Yola residents facing water shortage pay 1,000 naira per 12 gallons as costs of living increase. Now, moving on, Nasarawa state government has called on the state medical doctors to call off the ongoing 5-day warning strike in the interest of patients. The state deputy governor, Emmanuel Akabe, made the call in an interview with journalists while reacting to industrial action embarked upon by the doctors in Lafia, the state capital. The Nasarawa State Council of Nigeria Medical Association had embarked on a 5-day warning strike over the poor welfare package of their members. The warning strike, which started on Wednesday, July 5th, will end on Monday, July 10th.
So, I mean, we begin to think probably that's something else. And they said overtaxation. And I called the salary people, are you overtaxing? They said no. As a matter of fact, their tax is even lower than Federal Medical Center, Kefi. Federal Medical Center, go and find out. And I say, why would taxing their colleagues lower? Go and find out. Not go and find out yourself. Now they said call duty allowance, they want it exempt from tax. And I told her, I said, we can't do that. But just exempting you call duty from tax, other employers of government will come, employees of government say, okay, we too. And at the end of the day, we are talking about IGR. That's what we call pay as you earn this. And if we begin to remove some of this one, we might end up not collecting tax of anybody.
As the Nigeria Meteorological Agency continues issuing warnings on flood and other elements of nature, residents and environmental experts in Bayelsa State have raised alarm over the alleged nonchalant attitude of the government in taking the warning of NIMET serious. They stated this while speaking to our reporter in the state capital, Yenagoa.
With many across the country yet to recover from the devastation of the 2022 flood, residents of Bayelsa are worried that if necessary steps are not taken, many could see 2022 repeating in 2023. A resident and environmental expert, Priya Aganaba, said it's time for the state government to do the needful to avoid loss of lives and properties.
The quantity of rainfall also leads to saturation of the earth, and then at a point, there is nowhere for the water to go other than to flow. And then it flows from the north, and then it builds momentum, turns into a large pool, and then starts wreaking havoc. That's what happens.
Another resident who was affected by the recent flash flood in Yenagoa, George Aligbe, said up to now he has not seen the state government taking steps by clearing the natural canals and drainages, even though this year's rainy season has not recorded much flood and disaster like that of last year.
It's certain that floods are coming, and one has to prepare about it. We are beginning to see the sign of the flood coming up, but we have not really seen the proactive nature of the committee, and the government is sleeping. Whether you like it or not, the government is sleeping, and here is flood again. Whether we like it or not, we are seeing it.
Similarly, a renowned environmental rights activist, Alagwa Morris, said it is not enough for NIMET to just forecast without putting in effort to avert the disaster.
There is no other effort that these federal government agencies and the government itself, whether it is Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, have done before we begin to blame the states. And why we have to blame the states, and even to some extent the local governments, and even individuals, is that this is happening to you. You don't need to wait for another person to come and tell you to be safe.
They all want the state government to work with stakeholders to ensure that the right steps are taken to avert flood-related disaster.
Meanwhile, the Federal Capital Territory Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, said it is taking proactive measure during the rainy season to address the flooding challenges facing the capital city, Abuja. Director General of the FEMA, Dr. Abbas Idris, while speaking on Trust TV's flagship program, Daybreak, stated that the agency has mapped out hazard areas that are prone to flooding within the city. On the flood incident in Trademore Estate, Abuja, Abbas said that the area itself is sitting on the waterways and need to be evacuated.
We know areas that are prone to flooding based on our hazard mapping. And we also know the areas that are flood to other hazards. So we don't stress ourselves, but we segment ourselves and make sure that when there is any early warning, when we receive early warning from NIMET, we concentrate. Once they show to us that there's going to be flooding and it's going to affect FCT, and our prediction also will now look at the indices and say, if there is going to be flooding, it could be District A or Community B. So we now focus ourselves there and ensure that our responders are very close by to give response. The problem of Trademore is that it's just sitting on the waterway. It is just sitting on the waterway. There is no solution that you can give except if you are going to do underground to bypass the water under the estate.
In the meantime, residents of Fredmore Estate in the Lugbe area of Abuja have petitioned the Permanent Secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, Olushade Adeshola, over the planned demolition of more than 60 houses in the residential estate. In the petition signed by the estate's lawyer, Mike Ezekome, the residents debunked insinuation that the estate has no development plan approval. The senior lawyer said that the estate was developed in 2007 and no case of flooding was recorded until recently. The residents had on Monday shut their gates in protest against the planned demolition of structures in the estate by officials of the Federal Capital Development Authority. The development came days after the estate was declared a disaster zone in light of the flash floods, which submerged houses and vehicles in the estate about a week ago. The Permanent Secretary of the FCTA had declared the Trademore area a disaster zone that needs immediate action to remedy further damages and loss of lives and property. The United Nations Children's Fund says Nigeria will need to build no fewer than 3.9 million toilets annually to meet the open defecation-free target by 2025. According to the 2021 Water Sanitation and Hygiene Wash National Outcome Routine Mapping on Nigeria's sanitation status, 48 million people practiced open defecation, while 95 million were without access to basic sanitation services. Ibrahim Ismail reports.
This is one of the hotspots of open defecation around Tashanduku axis in Gombe metropolis. People who defecate here form part of the 48 million Nigerians who practice open defecation. Business owners who operate around this area launch a campaign against open defecation to sanitize the environment.
Musamman ma kamar yanzu wannan kwari din. Kaga in ka zo ka shiga wannan kwari kai fitsari.
Waste from the open defecation contaminates water and cause diseases. We used to sanitize the area with my members. Building toilets will address the problem. There were efforts to do so, but maintenance became a problem. Open defecation destroys the environment and causes diseases. I feel sad about it. People should use the toilet as recommended by our religion. Apart from damaging the environment, health experts say open defecation poses a great danger to humans' health.
Avoid open defecation because the microorganisms come out in feces into the surface, and that will contaminate surface waters and also waters that are used in watering the vegetables in our gardens and what have you. So open defecation should also be avoided.
As it stands, Nigeria builds 200,000 toilets annually, but 95 million Nigerians lack access to basic sanitation services, forcing a large percentage of the population to practice open defecation. To address the problem, the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, says Nigeria must build 3.9 million toilets annually to meet the open defecation-free target by 2025. Ibrahim Ismail, Trust TV News, Gombe.
And on security matters, troops of the Nigerian military attached to Operation Hadinkai in the northeast have neutralized members of Boko Haram and Islamic State of West African Province terrorists while attempting to cross the Nigerian territory from the Cameroon border. The terrorists, numbering 5 according to the military high command, were gunned down during a gun duel following an intelligence report that the adversaries laid ambush along the Bula Yobe Dar el Jamel in Bama local government area of Borno State. The newly appointed Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General E.S. Buba, who disclosed this at the Defense Headquarters, Abuja, during a press briefing, said that no fewer than 10 other members of the terrorists were also captured alive. Buba, who was represented at the briefing by his deputy, Brigadier General Abdullahi Ibrahim told journalists that arms, weapons and other logistics, including bags of flour and detergent, were recovered from the enemies of state, adding that their collaborators were also arrested. He also revealed that no fewer than 967 terrorists, 82 adults, males, 354 adult females and 531 children surrendered to troops at different locations within the joint area of operations. Kano State Police Command has confirmed the arrest of 106 suspects in connection with the armed robbery and other related crimes. Addressing a news conference, the State Police Commissioner Muhammad Gumel said several weapons and other exhibits were recovered during the operations. Trust TV's correspondent Idris Jibrin reports that the command is asking 16 notorious criminal kingpins to report to the nearest police division in their own interest.
These are mostly thugs, otherwise known as Endaba, suspected armed robbers and kidnappers who were arrested in various locations across Kano State.
Some of the thugs, led by this particular person, decided to start stoning security officials, damage their vehicles, but he was arrested and he has confessed to what he has done to security officials during the Salah celebration.
According to the command, a total of 108 of them are currently under discreet investigation after several dangerous weapons were recovered from them.
24 armed robbery suspects have been arrested. 3 suspected kidnappers also arrested. 2 suspected drug dealers. 9 suspected thieves. 2 motor vehicle thieves. 3 tricycle thieves. 3 motorcycle thieves. 57 suspected thugs, otherwise called Endaba, and 5 suspected fraudsters.
Thuggery, otherwise known as Daba, has recently become a source for concern among most people in Kano. The command is therefore inviting some 16 leaders of thuggery syndicate to report themselves to a nearby police station, otherwise they will be declared wanted.
The following identified suspects or thugs, otherwise called Endaba kingpins, are by this pressman invited to report at the nearest police station, Burakita of Dorari Karama Quarters. 2. Mercy of Kantudu. 3. Dambos of Dala Makaranta. 4. Adoruntu of Tudung Pulani, Bachirawa Quarters. 5. Bapakila of Mazaunar Tankwa Quarters. 6. Kamilu Duna, otherwise called Black, of Adakawa Quarters. 7. Chile, Maidoki Tudun Pulani, Bachirawa Quarters.
While investigation continues into the alleged crimes committed by these people, police in Kano warned that there will be no longer a hiding place for criminals wherever they might be across Kano State. Idris Jibrin, Trust TV News, Kano.
And on political matters, the Plateau State chapter of the All Progressives Congress will suspend all members alleged to have acted against the party before, during and after the 2023 general elections in the state. The state chairman of the party, Rufus Bature, disclosed this on Thursday during a stakeholders meeting of the party held at the Kalwa House, Jos. The APC, which described the activities of some elders of the party during the last general elections as unpatriotic, said it had set up machinery to deal with them according to the constitution of the party, adding that the party will not reward those who were disloyal to it during the election. The chairman further accused some party members of trying to divide the party in the state, saying that such attempt wouldn't succeed. The governor of Taraba State, Abu Kefas, has approved the constitution of a special committee to look into the PDP leadership crisis in Taraba State. The committee, according to the governor, is to establish the causes of the conflict in the leadership tussle in the state chapter of the party and also unravel the course of litigation over the party's leadership in the state. According to the governor, the committee will also advise on the best approach to resolve the tussle and provide solutions for lasting peace and harmonious cooperation among party leadership and members in order to sustain the ideals of the party. The committee will be inaugurated on Tuesday, 11th of July 2023 at 9 a.m. in the Exco chambers of the Government House, Jalingo. The Rivers State chapter of the All Progressives Congress has disowned the claim by one of the factional chieftains of the party in the state, Tony Okocha, over his comments that the ministerial slot of the state should be given to the former governor, Nyesom Wike. Reacting to Okocha's speech at the party secretariat in Port Harcourt, the state publicity secretary, Darlington Wauju, denied that there has never been any agreement that the ministerial slot should be given to the former state governor.
Our attention has been drawn to publications made on national dailies yesterday in the name of Rivers State APC, purporting to have ceded the ministerial slot of the state to the immediate past governor of Rivers State, Mr. Nyesom Wike. The state chapter of the APC has never interacted with the amalgamated Bola Tinubu Campaign Council, which the purveyors of that falsehood claim to represent or to be representing. For the umpteenth time, we want to say that Mr. Tony Okocha is not a member of our great party.
We'll now take a quick break. The news hour continues shortly. Join us again. Welcome back. You're watching the News Hour on Trust TV. Now, local producers of electricity meters on Thursday cautioned the Transmission Company of Nigeria to hold its plans in using a loan granted to the federal government by the World Bank for the importation of meters. The producers, under the aegis of Association of Meter Manufacturers of Nigeria, also called on the President, Bola Tinubu, to call the agency to order on its decision to throw more Nigerians into unemployment crisis. The Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, had in a tender publication unveiled stringent requirements before a vendor can access the loan, which effectively ruled out local manufacturers. But reacting at a news conference in Abuja, Secretary of AMON, Durushola Omowenigu, insisted that implementing the policy will not take away Nigerian jobs, but also deprive the economy of the benefits the loan was meant to bring. The union leader explained that the criteria set out by the TCN in terms of performance, bond, experience, turnover, and cash flow seems to be designed to eliminate local companies, adding that the fund should rather be made available to local meter manufacturers who have the capacity to produce them.
The issues emanate from the structure of a World Bank bid for $1.25 million meters in the Nigerian space. In this same space, we estimate there's probably a shortfall of between 8 to 10 million meters. And there are various programs that have been instituted over the years. We call the meters the ATM of the industry, and improving the transparency as well, because transparency in terms of the fact that various government interventions, funding interventions are in place.
Time now to take a look at business updates with Chiamaka Nwafo.
The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, drew down Nigeria's foreign reserves and expended $17.81 billion to defend the nation's weak currency at the foreign exchange markets in 2022. According to the Apex Bank in its annual CBN activity report, in 2022, the amount it injected was 7.6% higher than the $16.55 billion injected in 2021 on intervention at the interbank forex market to stabilize the naira. This depleted the external reserves from $40.53 billion as of December 31st, 2021 to $34.22 billion as of June 26, 2023. Given details of the intervention, the report explains that $7.12 billion was distributed and sold at the spot market, while the sum of $10.69 billion was sold and distributed at the forwards market. And finally, Nigeria's average daily petrol consumption has fallen by 28% since President Bola Tinubu scrapped a popular but costly subsidy on the fuel at the end of May. This is data from the industry regulator has shown. Average daily petrol consumption fell to 48.43 million litres in June, down from the previous average of 66.9 million, according to figures released to Reuters by the Nigeria Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, NMDPRA. Subsidy had kept prices cheap for decades in Africa's biggest economy, but became increasingly expensive for the country, with the government spending $10 billion last year, leading to water deficits and driving up government debt. Despite having spent $2.41 billion on subsidy in the first 5 months, Nigeria could save up to $5.10 billion this year from scrapping the petrol subsidy and from FX reforms, according to the World Bank. And that's it on Business News. I am Chiamaka Nwafo.
Now, on the foreign scene, the death toll from a toxic gas leak that authorities blamed on an illegal gold processing operation in South Africa has risen to 17, including 3 children. Police at the scene have removed canisters from a community of closely packed shacks and have been sifting through evidence. The leak of what authorities said was a toxic nitrate gas happened on Wednesday night in the informal Angelo settlement in Boksburg, a city on the eastern outskirts of Johannesburg. The 3 children who died were aged 1, 6, and 15, police said. At least 10 people were taken to hospital, including a 2-month-old baby, 2 4-year-olds, and a 9-year-old, according to Panyaza Lesufi, the premier of the province of Gauteng, who gave an update on Thursday.
Bodies were scattered literally everywhere. And I want to thank our team because they know exactly where each body was. And they know exactly how that particular body arrived where it was. So I thought initially it was just an explosion in one area, but you can see people were running away from the scene. And then they started to fall as they tried to get areas where they can escape. The scene was heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking. I regretted why we have to go through that scene. It was heartbreaking.
Preliminary investigations done indicates that there is
illegal mining activity that is taking place here. You would have seen by now the police have removed so many cylinders of gas and still removing equipment and dismantling the illegal processing plants that are here. So we are going to be investigating further to determine exactly what could have transpired, go deep, and if there's anyone who can still be held liable and responsible for this, hopefully there can be some action taken against them.
Now, before we wrap up, Adeni Ajijafe brings us sports updates.
Former Nigerian Premier League champions Ranger International Football Club of Enugu has unveiled Fidelis Ilechukwu as their new coach for the next 2 seasons. The former handler of the Coal City club, Abdulmay Kaba, left his post after the expiration of his contract in June. Ilechukwu said his target is to take the club back to continental football and to win titles. Chairman Rangers Supporters Club, Uchenna Orji, said the supporters will give the team necessary support to do well in the league. Confederation of African Football has released the draw for 2023 CAF Women's Champions League qualifiers. Nigeria champions Delta Queens in Group A of WAFU B Regional Qualifier. Delta Queens qualified to represent Nigeria after emerging as champions of Nigeria Women Football League Super 6 to trade tackles with USFA of Burkina Faso, Sam Nelly of Benin, and Atletico de Abidjan of Cote d'Ivoire. Group B consists of Ampem Dagua Ghana, AS Garde Nationale of Niger Republic, and Amis du Monde, Togo. Africa Soccer Governing Body, CAF, has named 8 venues for the maiden edition of African Super League. This tournament scheduled for August was postponed till October due to sponsorship issues. CAF lists Aba, Tunis, Cairo, Casablanca, Pretoria, Dar es Salaam, Lubumbashi, and Luanda as the 8 venues for 2023 competition. CAF also announced that the draw will take place in September while the competition will commence in October. Nigerian champions Eyimba International is among the 8 clubs in the maiden edition. That's Sport News. I'm Adeni Ajijafe.
With that, we wrap up the news hour for tonight. But you can watch more via all our social media platforms and also on our YouTube live stream. I am Ayuba Ilya. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.
From the Daily Trust News Center, this is the News Hour.